Hi there, dolly friends. Welcome back to the doll cupboard. Today I'm going to do part one of I don't know how many doll stringing videos. You asked for it and I want to get started. This little baby was made in Japan, probably in the 1930s, and you see these all the time. I love these little dolls, but they have these weird metal hooks in them and they become loose against the elastic, and I want to show you how to fix him. And this little guy, like a real baby, needs a wash behind the ears. So just get everything nice and clean. And I'm going to use my little kid leather gloves to put on the joints so the bisque doesn't rub against itself. But just take a look at these little hooks. Now the arms, I thought I might use string, but they're so tiny, I'm gonna have to use my craft wire, which is not ideal, but it was the right gauge. So I'm just using some wood glue to apply the kid leather in the jointed areas so the bisque doesn't rub up against itself. And I'm not 100% convinced that this little baby has his original head, but it is a cute one. All right, let's get down to business. I'm going to use the smallest elastic, and I'll leave a link where I buy my doll elastic. I buy it from Doll's Parts. This is the smallest size. I think it's the smallest size. And it works for many dolls. So I'm just measuring how much I'm going to need. I'm going to go from that little hook in his head, see it there, down to his legs. You could also go from the head to the arms. It just depends on the size and shape of your doll. There's no 100% right way to do it. You could also attach this elastic by just stringing it through or tying a knot. I decided to do the slip knot. So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go down one side and I'm gonna attach one piece of the elastic to the hook. And there is the little hook. I'm just stringing it through, and then I'm using my pliers just to tighten the hook so the elastic doesn't fall out. You don't want to squeeze it against the elastic or your elastic will not be able to move. So you don't want that. And now I'm going to go back to the other side and do the other leg. You want to use the piece of elastic that you didn't use before. So you have one piece hooked to the right side, and now I'm going to hook the other piece to the left side. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to tighten that. Now, if your wire is fragile, you may need to make new ones like we're going to do for the arms. And then I tie a square knot, or what I think is a square knot, right over left, left over right. There's a debate about that, but I'll leave that to you to decide. But that's what I tie, right over left and left over right, to secure my knots, and it stays really well. Nice and tight, nice and tight. I apologize for the lighting, but I was filming in the evening and my lighting was poor. You can turn up the brightness on your computer, that might help, or your device. Well, he's already looking much better. Now, one of the things you can do is use a little hook to actually fish out the elastic that you have stringing down and use that to hook to the arms. But the hole's so tiny here and my hook is flimsy and I wasn't able to do it. So I'm just going to string the arms separately. And you can do it either way. On a larger doll, you might want to bring the elastic through. You can see I'm struggling and it didn't work out. So I decided to go ahead and cut the strings on the bottom here, and then we'll do the arms. You can see the kid leather there. You see how I've applied that, and I showed that in the last video. where I cleaned up my German doll's house doll. So he's looking much better already. And I have it folded in half, and I'm stringing it through to the other side. And I'm just going to put a clamp on it so I don't accidentally pull it through while I'm hooking and then have to start all over again. Ask me how I know this. You should take care not to put the arm strings through the other strings that are going to the leg. Don't get them caught in between. Go either to the front or the back. And I also want to show you how I bent the wire to make the hooks for the arms. Thread it through the holes and then use your needle nose pliers to bend the ends. So I just made a similar hook. I thought I had videotaped myself doing that, but just use a piece of wire and bend it into the shape you need according to the ones that are already there. So I'm just clamping it again and pulling it tight. Some vintage plastic dolls and composition dolls also have this kind of wiring. I'm gonna do one more after I do this little fellow to show you, but you can use basically the same technique. And it's easier if you don't have to do the head. You can just do the arms and legs together, or you can even do them separately. So there's different configurations that you can do. If you have a very expensive or antique doll, I don't recommend amateur like myself and my techniques. You might want to take your doll to a professional if you need to do that. But if you just have some vintage dolls or little penny dolls or carnival dolls like this, and you want to give them a little more security, then these techniques are fine, and it's fun to do and opens up, you know, your market for dolls, because you don't mind a doll that needs restringing. And if they're strung nicely, they can hold their positions. Look how cute he is. Well, I'm just gonna do the same thing on these little dolls. This little hard plastic doll, I didn't turn the camera on to show you how she just was secured with one rubber band. And you can buy these bands also at a doll's supply store, and you can do it that way, which is probably a little bit easier for this type of doll. But if not, you basically are doing the same thing that I did with the other doll. She has a little rod in her head. I'm just making a slip knot. I'm gonna go down to her legs, but I'm realizing that I forgot to do her arms. They were banded separately. So I just wanted to cut those off so you can see. And little rubber bands like that get very frail and fall apart over time. I'm doing exactly what I did on the little bisque doll, just to show you. And I have the little composition doll there behind her. He is also wired the same way. Of course, his head is already attached, which makes it much easier. But his bands were looking good, so I didn't take him apart and do him. Now you can see her arms have the hook already molded into the plastic. And a rubber band would actually have worked better here, or maybe a smaller piece of elastic, but I just kept going. Again, you can see she's kind of a broken, chippy doll. Oh, I forgot to do my clamping and it pulled through. See? So I'm redoing it. She probably could have used the smaller elastic for her arms. It's a little bit bulky. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. See how easy it is? And if you want it to be even easier for these plastic dolls, you can buy the rubber bands online. I'm just showing you his elastic is pretty good. So next time we're gonna do the Doll's House doll that was in the haul I showed. She's gonna need peg stringing. So when you see these large holes on the outside of your doll, don't tie big knots in the elastic because it doesn't look good, especially when you have clothes on them. We're gonna make these little pegs, which are almost like corks. So think of a salt and pepper shaker. And I just barely put it in there and you can see how well it holds. But we're gonna do some peg stringing with this girl next time. I have never done it before, but we just are gonna make our own little pegs out of some wooden dowels. So tune in for part 2 to see the peg stringing. Thank you all so much for subscribing to my channel. Please leave a comment. I just love learning from all of you. The dolls have been asking for a Valentine's Day party already, so I might have to squeeze that in. See what happens next time on the doll cupboard. Bye everyone.